All right, I'm waiting for our guest tonight to be added. Just waiting for Facebook to add this guest. All right, Luke should be coming on soon. Soon, man. He's going to be the second guest of Journey to the Pit, a little live stream we do just for some entertainment and educational purposes. All right, Luke, I see you in there. Well, guys, let's welcome Luke. Luke Jarrard from JRoc Farms down in South Georgia. He's our guest tonight, and hopefully we'll have a very entertaining and educational conversation tonight. A lot of guys have been looking forward to this. Luke and I have known each other for some time and actually met each other at Gators Barbecue not too long ago. It was about 4 or 5 months ago, September, I think it was, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Luke. So listen, man, let's just get into it. But one disclaimer I want to say before we do anything, everything that is talked about on this live stream is just for educational and historical and entertainment purposes. None of the information is intended for anything illegal. And we'll just be talking about, Luke's history and his life and his culture. So, Luke, if you could just start out and just tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in game fowl, and we can just go from there.
Yeah, Jim, I don't know. I've been messing with these old game birds probably close to 30 years.
Okay.
I started out, I was just a little fella. Got a few and just fell in love with them.
Right.
And ever since, I've been just messing with them. I enjoy them.
So, Luke, tell me something. Are you first generation or second generation cocker?
I'm first in my family. There's other, not direct. My dad or nothing mess with them, but other people in our family has messed with them. But I met a guy when I was just a young fella, and he's into it. He loved it. And that's really what got me going, when I met him and learned what to do. But when I first seen him, I had to have them.
You had to have them, huh?
I didn't know what to do with them, but I had to have them. So I always said it's in my blood.
You got back. That right. You got addicted to them. It was the first time you got exposed to them, huh?
Yep, just fell in love with them.
I know that's right. Well, Luke, tell me something. Do you remember who you got your first birds from?
I do. My uncle, he used to have birds, and his son, which would be my cousin anyway, he had them, and I was just a little guy. I probably was only 7 or 8, and I was happy to be visiting, and I always liked looking at them. And one day I heard them talking about they had been to Louisiana and talking about the cockers there and all about it, and it just captivated me. And I guess that's really what got me going. And then he gave me a rooster and a bunch of hens and that still.
So Luke, tell me something. Starting back in that day, when did you really think, or say, when did you start? What was some of the first lessons that you learned? Was you out there just trying to buy trios and start breeding birds, or were you just picking up or getting birds from them and just start experimenting with different things? Did you have like a mentor?
Well, at very first, no, I didn't have anybody helping me, telling me what to do. I would just get them from anywhere. Somebody have them right in this area years ago. People would just have a cock and a bunch of hens at hog barns, running loose, and they'd go catch the babies, And somebody tell me so and so's got some, you can go get one. I'd go get them, and that's what I started with. I didn't have no idea what they were, but I just, I knew anyway, and that's what I started with. But then, like I say, once I met this fella, I don't mind mentioning his name. He's passed away now, Mr. Franklin Mullis.
Okay.
And he showed me what I should be doing,
Right.
and what I was looking for and then once I got hooked up with him, it went to a different level. My mind thinking changed from just having chickens to play with in the yard
Right.
to, hey, look here, this is something worth holding on to, learning, every aspect of it. But from that young age, I always looked at it as a different than most kids would have, I guess you'd say.
Right. So Luke, tell me some. What age you think you were when you really started to kind of get, like you say, your mindset kind of changed from just grabbing straight chickens from the farms all in the local to really realizing that this is something that you kind of want to dedicate yourself to. How old you think you were?
Uh, 12.
About 12, huh?
Yep. I, I, we went to Louisiana. I was 13. I won my first show.
You won your first show at 13?
Raised, fed, and handled them.
Hey, tell me this though. You said raised, fed. That was gonna be my next question. So you said raised, fed, and handle at 13, huh?
Yep. That's
Well,
my
tell me this, Luke. What was it? Was it the same? The chickens that you said that you're kind of the mentor, the guy that passed away, were those the birds that you actually start breeding?
eventually, but those particular birds were some I acquired from another guy. He was a neighbor friend that also had birds that I had acquired some blood from him at the time, and that's what
Right.
I had raised. But now my mentor Franklin, he showed me what helped me with them to go out there and do that because I didn't know anything. I knew how to somewhat work them condition wise, but
Right.
the rest of it I was kind of clueless. He helped me on that part of it.
He helped you on that part, huh? Well, tell me this, Luke. What do you think? And like you say, starting off at a young age, getting a mentor, 10, 11, 12 years old, which is great because that definitely puts you further, a lot further ahead than a lot of other people. Um, what was one of the most important aspects? Your mentor told you starting out. Was it anything that he thought you should learn first? Like the
His
breathing, the care, the feeding, is any particular
well,
thing that he thought was very important that you should learn first?
well, let me back up a minute. Before I got into the game chickens, I was in the homing pigeons with my dad.
Okay.
He was big. He was big time racing pigeons,
Okay.
and I already had the care and the kind of a idea of the breeding from that I carried over into the game fowl once I started with them. So that part of it I was already kind of on board with, and then
Oh,
so I had a little bit of a head start on that part. But then when I got the birds, um, after a little while, he taught me to focus on what I like, not
right.
whatever breed that I like, get them,
Right.
stick with them, and concentrate on that. And then he would learn me how to condition them and everything else.
Right. 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 So Luke, tell me, uh, do you think your systems that you did back in the day, have they changed a lot from where you are today as far as on care, breeding, and that type of stuff?
Yeah. Um, where I'm at now is changed tremendously in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Compared to the previous 20 years.
Okay.
Times has changed. Birds has changed. The disease has changed. That's the main thing. The way the chickens are exposed to so many different things now that used to they wasn't. And then on the level from raising only 50, 60 birds, stags a year
Right.
versus raising 200 a year. The different
Right.
amount of work that goes into it. It's a whole different program. If somebody only gonna raise 50, pretty
Right.
easy deal. But
Right.
now when you switch gears, it's a whole nother animal.
Whole nother animal. Right, right. So tell me something, Luke. As far as your biddies, what do you think? Like you say, it has changed over the last 5 years. Dealing with your biddies, what is so much different now than it was 5 years ago?
The thing I see now with the babies is it's almost mandatory that you medicate them from incubation. I mean, used to you, or even with hen.
Uh-huh.
Um, used to majority of the stuff we raised was with hens. Well, we didn't have to do that much medicating, and as far as babysitting rather other
Okay.
babies.
Okay.
But then now it's almost mandatory that you got to start immediately a program of some sort from the time they hatch. That's the biggest difference.
Okay, tell me this, Luke. Would you mind kind of giving us an idea of maybe the program, if you don't mind sharing it, the program that have been successful to you, for the biddies?
Yeah, well, my thing, basically, number one killer of babies, I don't care who you are, it's
Right.
coccidia.
Okay.
And right out the first water they drink, for the first 5 days, I treat them for coccidia. You
Okay.
know, I like, you know, I like to use something with the Baycox or Coxy Gem is what I
Okay.
use, but it takes
Okay.
care of it. But once you get that on, go ahead and get that right away, and then after that, start them on probiotic and vitamins. That's a big thing now is probiotic because that helps with you not having to use so much antibiotic. And then when you
Okay.
do have to administer antibiotic, it'll work.
All right. All right. One question, Luke, I want to pause. I see some messages coming up saying that they can't hear the sound, but I can hear you and you can hear me, and I don't see anybody else. So listen, guys, if y'all watching, and if it's somebody else who cannot hear the sound, if you can just post a comment or something, just to make sure before we go. We don't want to continue this great video and then nobody can hear the sound. Okay, it looks like the sound is good. So I'm sorry about that, Luke. So after the 5 days, we get them medicated. And then you get them on a probiotic. So you said you don't have to use a lot of antibiotics later on. What age do you actually start, or do you, let them free? What age do you start to let them free?
Well, with me, we in South Georgia, so I can start breeding earlier in the year. I try to have most of mine done by January, February, just mainly breeding broodstock, March.
Okay.
But before that, we trying to get everything off early, so it's cold weather, but not extreme cold like our other guys have. So
Right.
I keep them inside, till they get up a month old.
Month
And
old. Okay.
4 weeks. And when they get a month old, we vaccinate them and for Merrick's. Well, Merrick's we do it at day old, but
Right.
um oh shoot, Coraza and
Okay.
CRD. We're at 4 weeks old, and
Okay.
then we leave them another week in the brooders. After that, they can go out into. I got roosting barns. It's just a building with roost in the top where it keeps them out of the weather when they can stay warm in. Put them in there for a while. Pretty days, let them out. At night, they go back, put them up. That's
Okay.
the way I do it.
Okay. So that's about the month old range, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then when do you when at what age do you pull them out, out the roosting barn and kind of let them, run a little free? I know everybody's situation is different, but with you.
With me, like I say, when after there'll be about a month and a half, 2 months maybe. They feathered out good, doing good. I'll on pretty days when it's nice out, I'll open the door, let them out, let them go do their thing, and then that night they'll go back in and I'll shut them at night, just on the pretty days. But by like this time of year now, we pretty much getting them out.
pretty much getting them out. So usually around about 2 months, they're pretty much able to kind of run free, huh?
Yeah, 3 months they definitely out.
3 months. Okay. 3 months. So you kind of took us through your regimen of how you medicate them, from the first time they drink water on up to 3 months. So I guess about the first 5 days you get your medication in them, and then you start to vaccinate them. Now let's just go over that one more time. So you start your vaccination on day one.
Day one Merrick's.
Okay, day one Merrick's. And then what you do next? What would be the next vaccination?
Coryza. And I do the Coryza and the MG, which is CRD at 4 weeks old.
At 4 weeks old. Okay. Okay.
Both
And I'm asking you all these questions because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of people watching that's probably don't even have a program. So I'm hoping that that they're watching this and they can maybe try to start a program since they don't have one. Maybe they can try the program that you kind of doing now to see how it works for them. So we got them out at 3 months. Now, as far as setup, do you use pin setup or tie cord setup? What type of setup would you prefer, or do you use both?
Got some of both, but right here on my farm, I have to use a lot of pins because I don't have the area for a lot of tie cords. Eventually, if I had the area, that's all I would have. Jeremy Chandler, he's got a tie cord hitch that you can put baby stags on. They don't have to have a spur. And I would prefer to have them on tie cord because you can handle them so much easier. If you walk by him, you can reach down, pick him up, feel of him, see how he's doing, check him for bugs, put him back. Which versus pins, you got to catch him out with a net or some way of getting him out. It's a lot different. But you're gonna have both, no doubt.
Right. And just to touch on what you just said, like you said, checking for bugs. What do you have a program? I'm pretty sure you do, but what's kind of the methods that you use for checking for bugs, and what type of medication do you use for that also? Pesticides or whatever you want
to. Well, here I know on my place, if it goes to raining a lot, we gonna have mites. We know that. So
okay.
But once a month, regardless if they need it or not, they getting sprayed. And the way I do it, I spray them at night while they're on the roost with a pump sprayer.
Okay.
And just I mix permethrin, 10% permethrin.
Okay.
I put 4 ounces to 2 gallons of water with a little bit of Dawn dishwashing liquid, and that Dawn soaks it into the feathers. So I just go by at night while they on the roost, shoot them, up under the vent, under their wings, neck. But there's also a new product that I've been using, had real good luck with. I think of the name of it now. Made by Jim Labs, but it's an internal external parasite. It does worm. It does for worms, also for mites or what have you, bugs, this and that. UVL has stuff for it too that's really good. Goes in the water. And here I have a water system with an injection pump. So I just mix my solution, put it under my pump. When my water system comes on, it automatically doses each pin with exactly the same amount of medication throughout the yard.
Wow. Wow. So you get to knock it all out. You put your medication in one spot and it just go ahead and distribute out to the rest of the. So tell me something, Luke. What made you go to that system as far as that? I've seen some videos of it before. I think I remember when you had first put it up. You done had it for at least about a year or two, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the videos.
Yes.
So tell me something, Luke. What type of wormer do you use?
We use all kind of wormer. I like using a lot of liquid wormers just because of the convenience that I have.
Okay.
But we use all kind of wormers. You have to rotate them, to get everything.
Right.
But we use a lot of ivermectin base, the worm oil, Safeguard, Tramadol, all different kinds.
Okay. And so, Luke, do y'all guys, do you do it once a month, every couple months, or do you do it as needed?
Every 30 days.
Every 30 days. And do you worm everything every 30 days? The hens and the roosters and the stags and
Yeah, everything gets every 30 days except during breeding season. During breeding season, I don't worm my hens because it'll mess up their egg production.
well, I'm glad you said that. Then that's a very good point. And I don't think everybody knew that. I know I didn't know that, but I haven't been in this game nowhere near as long as y'all guys have. But can you just give us a little bit of information of the worming affecting the egg production?
Well, anytime you dose them with anything during breeding, whether it be some kind of medication, even a strong vitamin, wormer, normally here at my place, they'll stop laying for at least 3 days. Anything that, if you read the label and it talks about, if you slaughter an animal to wait so long after you administer the medication.
That's right. Right.
Anything that says that will affect your egg production.
Wow, that's a good point. And you're right. You see that on a lot of medications, especially antibiotics and stuff like that. It'll tell you a certain amount of time before you slaughter, you can administer that medicine. So you say depending, just looking at the label, if there's anything on there that's saying it's a grace period before slaughter, is going to affect your laying, your egg production.
Yeah, even if it don't affect your egg production, that you administered is going to the embryo. You got to keep that in mind.
Okay. Okay. And tell me this, Luke, is that something that you were taught or something you learned from the hard way?
Well, I figured it out after a while when I, worm my hens during breeding and they'd stop laying for a week. I'd be like, what's going on, But I finally figured it out what it was.
Right. So,
But
I'm sorry, Luke.
Actually, now I believe they do make a wormer for that time of year. I can't call the name up, but I seem like I read something, maybe a month or so ago, they do have it available. I'm just not sure the name of it yet, but I was going to check into it.
Right. So, Luke, tell me this: what age is it? Any particular age? If you do have tie cords available, that you like to put your stags, your young roosters on the tie cords?
Commonly, and most of the time, whenever their spurs is hard, not soft spurs, you can put them out there. But like I say, they have I tested them here and I really liked it. I say new, but it's not new, but it's new to us.
Right.
A hitch. It's real slim and it'll go underneath this spur. It just holds them by the foot and it worked great. And then just as soon as the stag spur got hard, you could put it above the spur just like normal.
Wow.
But another thing we do, we rotate that tie cord hitch. If they are on tie cord, it gets rotated every week. Legs.
Oh, so you rotate it from legs every week, huh? You don't leave it on the same leg.
Every week.
Now, is that just with stags or is that with any bird on tie cord?
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay. And Luke, tell me, what's the purpose of that?
It'll just keep it from messing up his foot or, his feet being on that same spot where just like anything that rubbing on one spot for a while, just keep it from damaging him at all, basically.
Right.
And two, it gives you an opportunity to pick him up, check him for bugs real quick, check, stuff like that.
Just to handle him. Just to handle him, not just to leave him on out there and let him be, just to put your hands on him and see how they feel. Yep. Luke, tell me something. What do you think? And like you say, your program changes as you increase the amount of birds that you're caring for, right? And say when you went from the 50, when you was producing just 50, and then you went to the 200, what was one of the biggest challenges that you seen from going from that 50 to 200? Was it a sickness? Was it harder to keep them healthy? Was it, was it any particular thing that stick out that was a challenge to you going from, from 50 to say, shifting gears like you say?
Main thing is disease. The factor of disease just on the amount of the population density increase the disease, just because you got more animals in one area.
Right.
That was really a big thing. And then two, I'm trying to think how to word it. It just brings on a whole lot more variables because you putting a whole lot more players on the team. Basically, I guess that's the best way I can explain it. But and here at my house, it was I had to separate things a little better than what I had it to start with to make sure with cross contamination from pen to pen, such as that free range birds had to have a barrier between them and cage birds. Different variables we had to figure out why we were having certain problems. The free range bird, maybe one was sick. You couldn't tell he was sick. He dipping water from a cage bird. Then we got transfer of disease. And then some stuff's airborne. So all of a sudden we got an outbreak or something, So we had to learn all that. Or I say we, me and my son, I had to learn that.
Right.
But it was a big challenge. But we doing better.
Right. But no, those are some very valid points, because you're right. A lot of time with free range birds, you don't really get to know exactly if they're sick right away. Sometimes when you're out and about and you scanning over them and all that kind of stuff, sometimes you catch them, but sometimes you catch them when it's kind of bad and not, at the beginning stages of it. So you're right. When they dipping in that water and food, that's a lot of times when you catch it.
Yes. And I'll tell you a secret. I don't know how many people do it, but if you ever want to really check the health of your flock, walk in your chicken area at night. You'll catch birds that are rattling and, their chest rattling on the roost at night that they won't be during the daytime.
Right.
And why? I'm not sure why that is, but that if you walk and two at night when you go through your roosters, they'll go to crowing. Right. Anytime something's in your chicken yard at night, they'll crow, and you'll catch that one with that off sounding crow, so you can mark his pen, and then tomorrow you can come back and see about him. That's right. That's just a good tip I do. It sounds kind of weird, but it works.
No, those are little tricks of the trade. Those are the things that come from experience that a lot of guys, they might not run into that or catch on to that, for 5 or 6 years. The same way, like you said, you start to realize that about, every time you gave your hens something, you start to figure out like, whoa, why is these things not laying? So, just that little secret right there. I mean, guys might go out tonight and just to see, probably put it to work today.
You'll be surprised. I promise.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's one of those jewels. So tell me something. So moving on, say let's talk a little bit about feed. Do you mix your a couple aspects to this question, but just let's start off with, do you use pre-mixed feed or you mix your own feed?
I use pre-mix, and as you know, a lot of people don't know, I've been involved for many years with Mid-South Feed here where I live. They produce the Showtime.
Right.
And they make excellent feed, but a lot of their products I've had a hand in, so I like it, And the guy that owns it, he really went out of his way to help me personally.
Right. And Showtime is some great feed. That's all I feed in Puerto Rico, and that is one of the top feeds there. Obviously, in Puerto Rico, there's multiple great feeds there, but Showtime was one that my trainer started me off with, and I really liked it. And then I looked at the bag and realized it was from Georgia. I was like, wow. But yeah, it's some great feed. It's very clean. There's not a lot of dust at the bottom of the bags. And obviously in Puerto Rico, it's a lot more pricier. I mean, 40 pounds of it is like $24. So, And I know here is like 11 to 13 or something like that. I'm not sure. I never bought it here, but I know in Puerto Rico it's about $24 a bag.
Right.
So the next thing with the feed, do you feed the same feed all year?
I change. A lot of it depends on the weather. We feed a lot of pellets. Really a lot of pellets.
Y'all do
And
feed a lot of pellets, huh?
yes, I'll use the pre-mixed grain, the Showtime or
Okay.
whatever. But I do feed a lot of pellets, especially to the babies. I found out that once they come off baby food, bitty feed, that I start them on two different kind of pellets. I have a medicated pellet, which is it's made by Mid-South. It has just a little bit of medication in it for CRD and for coccidia. I feed a
Okay.
lot of that, but I do feed my babies a lot of pellets.
Well, you feed them a lot of pellets, huh?
Yes.
Have you always fed them a lot of pellets, or is that a result of experience of you experimenting and feeding them, the grain versus the pellets? What made you do that, or is that something somebody taught you, or something you just learned on your own?
No, actually, a good friend of mine, he feeds nothing but, well, around this area, a lot of people feed nothing but pellets. And
Wow.
a few, and one of my very good friends, he one year he raised some stags off of straight pellets, and they were phenomenal stags. I mean, just beautiful growth rate, health, just beautiful. So I had to, of course, find out what he was doing. He had 6-month-old stag look like cocks. I'm no lie. I mean, so
I know you was very interested. Like, man, how are those birds looking like that at 6 months old, huh?
I thought he was lying. If I didn't know when he hatched them, I'd have said he was telling me a lie. But I knew when they was hatched, and it was amazing. And ever since, he's done the same way, and they always look the same. And I started doing a lot of the stuff he taught me to do, on that end, and it works. I've had good results.
Right. So tell me something, Luke. Can you give us any information as far as if they can't get that exact pellet that you're talking about? Is it something they need to look for in the pellets that may be available to them near their area?
Well, like I say, these two types, I don't know about mentioning the name of them, but Southern States Flock Balancer. It's a 20% pellet. It's got everything a chicken needs in it, and that's what we feed the most of.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Great. Great. So Luke, tell me something. Since you don't really change your feed, you kind of leave your feed the same. Say if the weather changes and the weather gets really harsh, because this weather's been so unpredictable, and it's getting colder in places where it hasn't been that cold. Um, say if you're going through a cold spell or something like that, or the winter look like it's a little bit harsher, what type of adjustments would you suggest to make to the feed, if any?
Well, here, what I do, we don't have to worry about the cold a whole lot, but um, when it is cold here, our chickens, it affects them really hard because they're not used to it at all. But anyway, I'll increase the corn in my feed for those few days, and maybe the fat.
Right.
That's what I do.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. So tell me something, Luke. Do you ever feed wet feed, or is it always dry?
My my biddies, I feed a lot of soak feed. Once once the weather warms up, anytime I want to give them some extra vitamins or worm or whatever, I might put it in the feed versus the water. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but
Okay.
as far as just the wet, a lot of people feed oats, soap, whatever. That's good, all good stuff. You basically doing the same thing. The same goal in mind is give them whatever you're trying to give them through that mixed feed. Is the only thing I can think of for feeding a wet feed. Now during the summer, I do feed a lot of soak feed to my cocks that's molting with extra
Okay.
um, vitamins, electrolytes, so and so forth. But I don't have to do it as often because I also have the advantage of the injection pump on my water system. That really
Right.
helps out.
That really helps out. Right.
So
Right.
it's a really money saver
It
too.
is, huh?
Yeah, because you'd only use half of whatever you normally would because you know exactly how much each bird's getting, so you don't have to use as much medicine or vitamins, whatever. But neither here nor there. Soap feeds good during the summer, or anywhere that's dry in the desert, New Mexico. That way, you know them guys. It's good to feed a wet feed.
Right. Right. Okay, Luke. So listen, we're gonna shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about, the care of the older, of the cocks, and kind of want to talk based on your experience back when the sport was legal. Back when the sport was legal, I know you learned a lot about conditioning and keeps and stuff like that. And just for educational standpoint, and like I say, nothing intended for any legal purposes, anything like that. But just talking about things, because you did write a book, and that book is based on historical and educational information back when it was legal. Let's just talk a little bit about that. I mean, what are some of the things, or just give us a little information about the book that you've written, and it's about a keep, correct?
Yeah, basically what I done. Um, I had a lot of people ask a lot of questions about way things used to be, and to to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been.
Right,
That's my my mindset,
right,
and the information old timers had it helps us now too. So
right.
that's the reason I put that together. It's just for people to know what what used to be is still now as far as care, you know.
Right.
And you know me long enough to know that health is number one here. If he's
Right.
not healthy, he's not. That's our one of the main goals is health.
Is the help. Okay, so Luke, tell me like some of the main points. Let's get into the book, like the first chapters and stuff. Not into all the details, but kind of let's just kind of walk through the book, and so you can give us an idea of what and I'm pretty sure the guys watching this is going to post in comments and stuff and want to reach out to you for that. So let's give them a little inside information of what to expect. Um,
Well, well, I actually got a really large portion in there of it. Is about raising babies,
okay.
and then you got a good chapter in there on breeding, and the focus in the breeding is worth. I can't tell you. Well, actually, I can put a dollar number on it because I paid a guy, a genealogist out of the Philippines years ago, to tell me and send me breeding charts on how to lock down my family, which my Kelsos, the
Right.
66. I wanted to be able to have those and to be able to continue them forever without having to add anything. And I
Right.
paid the guy $5,000, and
Wow.
I've shared a good bit of that information in my little book. Not everything, but it's enough there that you gonna have to work for a little bit. I didn't give it to you because
Right, right.
you know,
But you
but
laid
there,
the foundation for them. They got to kind of tweak it to fit they liking, and obviously too, it depends on what they're even starting with. What type of birds they're even starting with, the quality of those.
that's right. The information's there. You gotta hunt it a little bit, but it is there, and you can have those birds your entire life. Your children's children, everybody can have that same family without having to add anything to it. That's a big part of it. The conditioning part in it, it's the old timey method. You actually, the person, whoever the individual is, has to put the work in.
Right,
Um, that's a big part of it. A lot of rotation and all that of the birds fine just for general health purpose, but when it comes, you got to put your part into it too as well.
right, right. You can't, because every situation is kind of unique. You can give them the basis of it, really good details and stuff like that, but obviously they're going to still have to, you know, it ain't going to be, you know, cookie cutter system, but you're
No,
giving them enough information to where they can kind of figure out the whatever little adjustments that they need to make on in the in between. Correct?
that is correct. That you could with this with the what I got in there, anybody can take it and do whatever they need to do by following it and making their own adjustments. And a lot of it's to do with health, you know, like I say, but if it's a blueprint basically for
It's a
whatever aspect of the birds that you want to be in, breeding, um, condition, health, um, babies, incubation. Now I forgot about that. The incubation. I get a ton of people asking about incubation, and that's a
okay.
lot of information on that.
Oh, so okay, so the book has a lot of information about the incubation period.
Yes, and it
Okay.
has information for Americans, for the Mexicans and the Philippines, everybody. I mean, I try to
Okay.
make it where everybody can find. It's like I say, and it is a fact. It has a key point in it for each individual person. Now that key point, I can't tell you what it is for Jim,
Right.
but whatever you missing is in there. You just got to
Right.
find it.
Right.
There's over a hundred plus years of experience in
Inside
there.
that book.
Yeah.
Okay. And guys, everybody watching, you know, anybody who's not friends on Facebook with Luke, you can still follow him. I don't know how many followers he got, if he can accept more friends or not. But if not, you still can contact him, reach out to him through PM. I know I see a lot of questions coming in. And I didn't really plan. I know, I guess it's up to Luke. You know, I kind of wanted the first one episode. Looks like we've been on here about 30 some minutes. Kind of wanted the first episode to be about 45 minutes due to the batteries and stuff like that on the phone. So we got about 10 minutes left. Maybe we can take a few questions. I seen a couple little questions come up down the bottom. Maybe we can just take a few questions to use up, not just to use up the last 10 minutes, but kind of get a idea of some of the stuff that's coming in. I'm trying to read it. Some of the stuff is coming in. So guys, you know, we got about 10 minutes. Luke is going to answer. You know, if y'all guys have any questions, which I know y'all do, I have seen him come through, but I didn't want to interrupt him speaking. But if any questions come in, we can get them answered. Also, too, after the video is posted, y'all can go in the comment section and post your questions there, and I'm sure Luke will get back to you. Y'all guys know how to reach him and get with him. Definitely look into that book. Obviously, if you watch this this episode, you know that Luke has a lot of knowledge, and I'm pretty sure there's something that you can learn from him. Like he said, he's been getting a lot of questions, so the best thing he thought to do is, you know, put it in a book form and bang, now you have it. Because you know, a lot of times it's better to have the information at hand and trying to, you know, PM somebody or shoot them messages, and you know, everybody don't have time for that. But so we got a few questions coming in. So it says that one of the questions, it says, what is the best rooster you ever seen?
Oh Lord. What I wondered, the question is breed or
I guess put it this way, and I don't know if this is the way, you know, purpose of the question, but what is one rooster that sticks into your mind, regardless if it was from when you was 11 years old to now? You know, I got a rooster in my mind that I know, just like I could be 90 years old and I'll still remember this rooster. He might not even be the best because I got some years to come, but up until this point, it is one rooster that sticks in my head, a good one. And it's a rooster that sticks in my head that was a bad one. So
yeah. Well, one in particular, I guess I'll forever remember is I told you about it when we talked at Jason's. And we was at
barbecue.
we were I was just a young boy anyway, I won't say where or nothing, but we was at an event in Louisiana, and Mr. Curtis Blackwell had some roosters there, and there's a
Okay.
little hatch rooster. He went a long time. You know, he didn't even come out of winter, but he went a long. I mean, for a long time. Anyway, afterward, I'm just a boy, you know, little guy, and I go over and ask Mr. Curtis. I said, "Would you sell me one of those cocks?
Right.
I'd like to have some of that." He said, "No, son, I wouldn't care to sell one." I said, "Okay." So I went on, you know, moping, head down. I was disappointed, which I didn't have a lot of money anyway to get one. But anyway, I went on. After a little while, come to the cock house. Somebody knocked at the door, and I opened. It was him. He had that bird, and gave him to me.
He gave it
And
to you, huh?
I brought him home, kept him in a shoebox in my room for over a month, nursed him back, and that rooster produced some of the best chicken that I ever owned.
Wow. And the person who gave you that rooster was who? Was it Curtis Blackwell? You said.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. One other thing, see, Claude asked a question and it might have got past me. What are the number of males and females needed to keep a family? Okay, it looks like the question that they're asking now is how many hens and roosters do you need to start out with to maintain a family?
Well, you got to start with two,
Okay.
and once you start with two, you keep one stag and three pullets out of those two,
Okay.
and then and that's where you start.
That's where you start. And Luke, how long can you go? You saying that you can go years without infusion with any other bloodline. How many generations you think you can go before you might need to bring something in? If you need to bring something in, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you to do it is whether or not you know that you're ever going to need to add, or if it's even worth messing with the family. After you do the first set of breeding, on the third generation, they all should be peas in a pod, hens and pullets.
Okay.
When you got that, because basically all you're doing is taking the original cock and the original hen, and you're trying to lock their genetic is what you're doing. Anyway, by the third generation, you should have all similar chickens, and performance wise, they should have all the same style. And if they don't, they're not worth even continuing along with, because once you go past third generation, it's just going to deteriorate. But
Oh,
if
that's a
they
great point.
if they're exactly what you were hoping for and looking for and everything, confirmation and size and style, everything you wanted, you can continue on, and and you may never have to add anything, because
Wow.
if it's a potent blend of the bloods of the families that you're trying to create,
Right.
it'll carry its own genetic for continuous. I mean, right on.
For many years. And one last question, because I know we want to at least, close this thing out talking about your 60-second Kelsos. That's what guys know you for all over the world. How long or when did you kind of start that bloodline? Because I mean, you pretty much got it locked down now, but I know it didn't start out like that. But I know you said 3 generations was pretty much when you knew you had it. How long ago or how long have you been breeding these 60-second Kelsos?
The actual family 60 seconds, they've probably been in existence now for um probably close to 8 years, going on eight
Okay.
years. But
Okay.
the the founders to that family, I had all my whole time ever messing with chickens, 25 plus years,
Okay.
and it was just it wasn't a coincidence. It was many years of trying to figure out how to do and what I was looking for to blend it to make what exactly I wanted. Anyway, when I did, that's when I had to, like I say, contact somebody a little more than I did, the
Right.
genealogist, on how to keep it. But the actual family, it's going on 8 years now.
Wow. Okay. Good. Yeah. And a lot of guys are very, very happy with that. I know they're happy with the results of that breed, them 60-second Kelsos, because you definitely known for that bird. So, you know, like I said, I never heard anything bad about them. And obviously, you know, they give them what they want. So listen, we're going to get ready to go ahead and close this out. I just want to make sure that everybody is able to contact Luke Jarrard, JRoc Farm down in Georgia. He's on Facebook. You can reach out to him, you know, PM him in regards to his book. It has a ton of information. You heard it already here, you know, over 100 years of information inside the book. Obviously, if you've been watching this interview, you can tell that Luke definitely knows what he's talking about. It ain't gonna be no trash in a book or anything like that. So, you know, like I say, after the video is uploaded, you can go in the comments. I'm pretty sure, you know, Luke can go in the comments and maybe, you know, answer some additional questions. I'll answer some additional questions also. But again, you can reach him on a PM. Even if you're not his friend, you still can send him a message. If you're interested in a book, I know some guys who have gotten a book and they're very satisfied with it. So I think is I think is a great investment in a small amount. You know, he's not charging much for the book. Luke, what's the cost of the book? Luke, you there? Luke, what's the cost of the book?
75.
75. See, I mean, 75, that's a very, very small investment, over 100 years of information. Y'all guys seen the video, y'all seen the interview. Y'all guys know Luke knows what he's talking about. $75 is definitely worth spending. Just as a collectible, like I say, all this information is just for educational, historical, and entertainment. Nothing's intended for any illegal purposes at all. But again, like I say, this is the first of the new series of Journey to the Pit. I'd like to thank Luke for coming on. The information was great. You got a lot of likes and hearts and all that kind of stuff coming up. The reception was good. Again, guys, I'm going to try to do this once a week. We're going to try for Fridays around the same time. I really appreciate, you know, Luke coming on and kind of being my experiment, you know, the first one. I wanted to get him on, but we didn't know if the reception was going to be good and all that. He was busy today, but we made it happen. I really appreciate that. By Monday, I'll have our next person we'll be interviewing. And I like to give it a week because the way Facebook operates, you know, sometimes it takes a couple of days for people to even see the post. But we got some more great guys, same caliber as Luke, coming on with some great information. You know, everybody have their ways of doing certain things, and I think every interview will be very beneficial. One of the things that I'm very excited about, and y'all see it, we're going to have some female cockers too. I mean, it's some really good ones out there, and a lot of them are the wives of some really good cockers. So, you know, I'm very excited. I'm not going to say exactly who it is, but we do have some females, some women cockers coming on. I already had one in mind, and I think y'all guys be very satisfied. I think she's I think we'll all be proud to have you know, a female cocker representing the sport, you know, the culture like she does. So again, if y'all not friends with me on Facebook, y'all can follow me. Also again, Luke Jarrard JRoc Farms down in Georgia. I really appreciate it again. We're going to close this video out. Luke, I'll be talking to you soon. Oh, one last thing. Luke is going to set up a visit for me at the Showtime mill, so I can go down and talk to the company down there about the feed process and all that. So that'll probably be like maybe a pre-recorded interview. So we'll see. But again, Luke, I really appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon. Guys, get in the comments. Ask Luke the question you want to ask him. Definitely reach out to him. He has a ton of information. Y'all, a lot of y'all guys know him. The ones you don't know him, go to his Facebook page, send him a PM, and I'll talk to y'all guys soon. Last thing, stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed, and I'll talk to y'all guys soon. Luke, have a good night.